Hey guys, happy Tuesday. Thanks for joining me tonight, everyone. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make lovely and quirky hand embroidery kits. And I'm here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And it's a time when we can relax and craft together and work through a project from beginning to end. So we are working on the Splendid Sampler 2 quilt along. We are almost done with our little birdie here. This is block 12. We just have to do a little bit of the embroidery, and that's what we're going to be working on tonight. And I think that will actually go pretty quickly. So we're going to also work on block 7. We are stitching down our English paper piece to the back fabric. So I'm hoping we can get pretty far on that today as well. We do have to take the paper pieces out of this one still, so we'll see how that goes. I don't think we'll get quite that far tonight, but we'll at least get this guy done. He will be a finished block, so I'm super stoked about that. So thanks for joining me, guys. I'm going to flip you around and we'll get started tonight. Okay. So I need some embroidery floss. So I put all my scrappy embroidery floss, I just throw it in this little bin. This is a pattern from Sarah Lawson of Sew Sweetness. And I just did like an improv piecing out of some old jeans and stuff for it, for the inside. But I just throw all my floss in here. And then I just kind of stick a few embroidery needles up in there. So it's kind of a go-to embroidery case. I don't have a scissors in here, I should. But I can just kind of grab this and have what I need for some embroidery. So let's see what it says in the instructions. I'm just curious. Oh, so they have like little brown feeties in this birdie. And that's kind of what I was thinking too. Just some brown legs to this guy. Here, I'm going to tilt you guys down a little bit more. There we go. So let's see what I got. I don't know what I have for brown. I don't want it too bright either. So I have this kind of mess. So this is all my scraps. So there are different lengths, different number of strands, a whole pile of crazy. But this is brownish. We could go there. That's pretty bright. I mean, my piece is pretty pale overall, so maybe this is a little too dark and a little too bright. Maybe we should go with something like this. Ideally, I'd maybe like something closer to the bird color. I don't know if I really have that though. Maybe let's try this gray. See what that looks like. I have like a whole skein of this sitting in here. I don't know where that is. You know what? I think that kind of matches. I think this color matches the most. I mean, I didn't necessarily want the exact same color, but I don't know if I really want the yellow, because the yellow we've been just doing for this flower. It'd be weird maybe if he had yellow legs. So I think this gray, it's kind of a little, when it's next to this brown, it kind of looks brownish. So I think let's do that. Oh, and then we have the little eyeball. I think maybe this will be a little light for the eye. Let's see. Maybe we use this brown for the eye. Yeah, maybe we do that. Let's do that. Okay, we got colors picked. So I'm just going to grab one of the needles from in here. And let's grab a scissors. We got an orange guy today. He kind of matches with what we're doing here. Okay. So I'm going to just zoom down in here for you guys. I want there's a stem stitch for these legs according to the instructions, and we just added this. We added this little eyeball. Why don't we do him? Well, I usually like doing French knots last for embroidery because I don't want to accidentally catch my other stitches on the embroidery. So I think let's start with the legs. And you know, I probably don't need too much. I think I'll probably just stitch up one side and then jump and then stitch down the other side is kind of what I'm thinking. That'd probably be the easiest way. So I'm just going to take my normal amount of thread here. I usually take about 24 inches or so. I don't take too long of a piece, just because I don't want to pull my arm too far when I'm stitching. So I'm gonna grab 3 strands out of here. You could probably do the whole 6 strands if you want, but when you do a stem stitch, it kind of makes a double thickness of the thread, and I think maybe 3 strands will be enough. So it'll end up looking about like this 6 strands here, which I think is good. So let's break this down into the 3 strands. So this is how I separate strands. I isolate just 1 strand from the bunch, and I just pull on that and let the rest bunch up like crazy behind. There's that strand. It kind of relaxes after the strand has been pulled out, and then I can pull the other couple out. I find that this is way faster, and you get a lot less knots this way, which is kind of crazy. It looks like you're getting tons of knots, but it isn't. It's just kind of relaxing after me here. There we go. So those are our 3 strands. I'm going to just set this other bit aside, back into the bin probably, and we'll put these 3 together. All right, and then just smooth the whole length here. Okay, let's see. You know what? We could use a little embroidery hoop for this. I don't think for this little bit you'll really need it, but I do happen to have like this little itty bitty hoop, so I think let's just use it. So now for stem stitch, I like my hoop being a hair looser than normal. I am going over all my applique here, so I want to be a little delicate because it is gonna bend stuff. And I don't think I'm gonna pull it any tighter than this. I'm just gonna tighten it. Maybe we'll try and get this there's a little bunching. I'll try and pull that out. There we go. But I think we're good there. Okay, let's thread this needle. Do the little pinch method. I just pinch the end, and as I'm unpinching, the moment I see the thread, I put my eye of the needle over it, and then you can pull the thread through. Okay. I'm just trying to think. Normally I don't usually use knots in my embroidery, but yeah. Yeah, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start stitching, but I'm going to leave like a 4-inch piece or so dangle, and I'm going to weave that in later. I just kind of like doing it that way. So let's start out by getting doing these 2 little feet here. So I'm not doing any special stitch for this. I'm just going to let this dangle a little bit. I'm just going from one point to the other point. All right, so I'm gonna just watch till I have about 4 inches or so, and I'm gonna just hold that there with my finger. I don't want to pull that in anymore. And I'm gonna make my second stitch. I will weave in that end later. Okay, so for a stem stitch, I'm going to start at the beginning of the line here, and we're going to go up this way. Just got those little toes in there first. Okay, so for stem stitch, I always like holding my piece with the line going horizontal, and then I have my thread coming out of the fabric kind of down low like this. So I have like kind of a loop or like a U shape here with my thread. And then I will go on the line, and then I will come up in the same motion about halfway back on the line. And that's gonna be my first stitch. A stem stitch is much easier if you go in and out in the same motion than if you stab and pull through and then stab and come up. This is called the sewing method. Stem stitch in particular, it's easier. So there we go. We have our first stitch and it's coming out there. And now I'm going to put it down like a U again, like this. my thread, and we'll do the next stitch on the line, and then we're going to come up right next to that last, where we came out of that, or of that last stitch there. So we can pull it up again. And I think we can get one more here. Coming up at that hole, again there, just right next to it. There we go. We get these little kind of cute diagonal stitches there, and that's what a stem stitch looks like. And then for the last stitch, we will go right next to where our last stitch was, right there. There we go. That is our first little teeny leg, a little twisty teeny leg. That's pretty cute. All right, so let's go down the other way with this leg. I'm going to start kind of pretending that this is like a half stitch a little bit, just so we get the thickness of 2 stitches at the top. So I'm going to come right back up where I came out of, just right next to it. And then I'm always going down with this thread. All right, so here's our first real stitch. Going there, and then coming back up right next to that hole. I'm not going directly in that hole, I'm going right next to it. All right, down again. We'll get 2 more in here, I think. And 1 more, and we'll have this leg just about done. So that did not take long at all. Cute little stem stitch. All right, so to finish it again, I'm going to end in the last I'll go right next to that last stitch. And then we just got to get these little feeties in again. So I'm going to go from the bottom. And, oops, got a little knot in there. There we go. And pop up to the center there. And we'll do the same thing over here. So now, hopefully, all this blue, this was a water-soluble marking pen. I'm hoping that all comes out with some water. I know it's been said that if you iron it, it gets a little bit more permanent, and we did iron this, so this will be kind of like a little test if we can get this out, but we'll see. So I'm gonna weave in where we just ended here. I'm gonna weave into the backs of the stitches. Instead of tying a knot, I'm gonna just weave back and forth a couple times. I think it kind of secures everything a little bit more. Then you can't feel a knot on the back there either. Go one more time. You always kind of want to go 3 times to secure it. If you just go twice, it sometimes can feel like it can pull out yet, but I think 3 is the golden number. Trim that right by the stitches. That will go back in the scrap bin. And now that piece that we just let hang from the beginning, I'm going to thread that as well. And we'll weave that in as well. So our front and our back are woven. So we don't have knots on either side. Oh, you prefer this method for ending threads? Yeah, Deborah, I started it a couple of years ago doing it this way, and I really like it. I mean, it does seem like maybe extra work, and it does seem like, oh man, I'm wasting all that thread at the beginning. But the thing is, if you have a little knot back here, it is so easy when you're stitching a whole piece to catch like this loop as you're stitching on random knots everywhere. So you end up with this crazy, messy back because you've just hooked on all these knots. And I actually think this weaving back and forth is more secure as well. Although I think for this little eyeball here, I think I might just do a little knot since it's not on the back, since it is just that one stitch. I don't really have anything to weave it into, but that's pretty cute. I think that was the right color. So all right, I'm gonna do that knot. I don't think I need the hoop for that. It's just this one little stitch and it's pretty thick. The reason I wanted to use the embroidery hoop for this part is that I didn't want to pull too tight and start bunching up my stitches like that because I'm pulling too tight. So having the hoop kept it nice and sturdy and taut for me. But again, with just like one little stitch there, you know, I might even do it with the 6 strands of, well, nah, we'll go down to our 3 strands of floss that I like to. Here's an end. All right, I don't need much. Let's just grab that. Oh, you love him, so cute. All right, so since this is just so short, I'm gonna do that method where you take the 3 strands from either side. This though, this is kind of more, I think, what people are used to. But the problem with this is sometimes you can get even more knots. And if you accidentally let go of this and it twists around the base, that you might not be able to get it out again. It might get so twisty. Yeah, there's a fly in here. But with just such a short piece, there's no issue there, so that's good. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to kind of just leave the end dangle on the other side, but this time I think I'm just going to tie it in a knot, kind of like how we tied all these little threads in a knot yesterday. Okay, so for the French knot, I'm going to come up on one side of this blue dot, and I'm going to end on the other side. I don't want to go in the same hole. Oh, Gina, that's true. I could have just used less and double the thread. All right, so I am going through a pile of layers. I'm going through that steam a seam, and I'm going through all this fabric, so it is a little hefty here. Oh, you put your bird on music, Fabric Dawn. That sounds so cute. Oh, and it looks like he's singing. What a neat idea. All right, so I'm just going to let this dangle here. And to do a French knot, I am going to point my needle away from where it's coming out of the hole here. So like this. So you're making like a full circle. You don't want to go towards your fabric. You want to come away from the fabric. And I'm going to do just 2 loops around. And now I'm going to hold those loops, and I'm going to point the needle to the fabric. So we started pointing it away from the fabric. Do the 2 loops, hold them down, and now you're pointing towards the fabric. And I'm going to go in the fabric, not in the same hole. I'm going to go up a little higher, like the upper left corner of that. So once I have the needle in just a hair, like that, I'm going to pull my floss loops tight against the fabric. There we go. And I'm going to hold that there with my thumb, just so those don't come loose and go over and we get kind of a loopy, weird knot. You got to really hold them in place there. And I'm going to slowly pull the thread until we got our little knot. And then I'm just going to head to the back here and tie that off in a little square knot like how we did the other bits. I mean, normally I wouldn't do it this way. I'd weave in the ends like what we did there, but, you know, there's not really anything to weave it in. And, well, so we have one little knot on the back. I think we'll survive. All right, there we go. So that guy is all embroidered. I think he looks adorable. All right, so let's give him a little press quick. I know I'm going to press him again with that water-soluble marker there, but we've already pressed it with that, so I'm just going to hope that I can get it out. So we're going to press this just because, you know, I have that hoop mark, and I've been handling it, so there's just like bunches of little folds in there. But then we will trim this guy and call him done. When my iron's warming up, I'm just going to throw this stuff away. Throw it back in there. I'll use it for something. Throw the needle back in there. Zipper up. My go-to embroidery. Really, I should really put like a spare piece of fabric in there, and then you know, a small hoop and scissors. Then I could just grab and go, and and a little marking pen, then I could doodle on a piece of fabric and just stitch it wherever I'm at. That would be kind of fun. That'd be a good emergency craft project, I think. Okay, so let's heat this guy up. So let's go to the pressing mat. So when I press embroideries, oh, I don't have my puffy towel. Usually, well, I always press it face side down. And what I usually do is I put a really fluffy towel, like a bath towel here, because then when I press, I'm not squishing my stitches. The stitches will just sink into the fluffy towel, but I don't have that near me, so I'm just gonna hope that my wool pressing mat does the trick. Oh, thanks, Dawn. The case is, I sewed it, but the pattern is by Sarah Lawson of Sew Sweetness. So I think a lot of you might be familiar with her. You can just do a search on Facebook for Sew Sweetness, and I'm sure she'll pop up. She does Facebook Lives pretty often. And she focuses on bags, and they're all just adorable. Okay, there we are. I think that'll do. Now we just have to trim this little feller, and he is done. So we did kind of put little markings at the 6.5 inch mark, so that'll help us. That helped us kind of frame it all in here. Oh, did I? Yeah, she does Facebook. Did I say that she did something else? I might have misspoke. But yes, she does a Facebook Lives. I still sometimes call these Facebook Lives Periscopes because it was Periscope back in the day before, right before we could do Facebook Lives. So I still call them scopes sometimes. All right, so I have those little markers. I'm going to see if it's still at that 6.5 inch mark. That's looking pretty good. So I'm not even going to bother seeing if I centered this right. I already did that work already with those blue dots, so I'm going to just keep it here. We are going to be trimming off quite a bit of this stem, but you know, as long as I keep it in my binder until I want to sew it, I don't think nothing's gonna fall apart there. Got my nice sharp rotary cutter. I like this rotating cutting mat, then I don't have to reposition the ruler every single time. You remember Periscope? Christina, yeah, I haven't been on there for, well, since, you know, we started doing Facebook Lives, really. So years. I don't even know if it exists anymore. It must exist. I think it does. Okay. And I think I nudged it a little. There you go, our last cut. Ooh, I know I moved a little bit there, but I think we're still okay. Still close enough. All right, there is our little lovely framed birdie, or trimmed birdie. Okay, I am marking him as complete. Yay, that's exciting. Okay, oh, that feels good actually. So this is my 8th finished one. So I still have 4 unfinished guys yet, but I'm hoping to make progress on this one tonight as well. Oh, they're pretty sweet together, these two. See, I think once we start sewing these together, all of you know, the colors are going to start blending together really nicely, I think, which will be kind of fun. And I did white backgrounds on all of them, so it's going to have that white background feel. And I think I might do white sashing in between with teeny tiny little 1/2 inch cornerstones, and those cornerstones I might do in the brighter colors, like, you know, that pink. I know I got some dark blue and stuff. So I think, yeah, I think I'll have some white sashing that you won't even really tell that's there because it's going to be the same color as, you know, the background here. But it'll be all about these itty bitty tiny cornerstones, or, you know, cornerstones are where kind of the sashing connects at the 4 corners of the blocks. You know, a corner, and then the 2 blocks underneath here. That will be a tiny little bright pop of color right there. I think that's my plan. And then I'll put 4 together with the little itty bitty sashing, and then we'll quilt those 4 with a backing. So I don't know if I'm going to use white for the backing or something else, but it'll probably be white. And then, although I think I have a pale yellow, a solid, that could be kind of fun. I could do white on the front, and then the back color could be, you know, a solid yellow like that. It'd still be a really light blonde color, but then the back or the front would be a little bit different from the back. Like imagine the back draped over the front like it had a big fold and it was this pretty yellow. That would be really pretty folded against this white. I'm gonna have to look. I think I might have a bolt of pale yellow like this. So maybe that will be our background, our back fabric. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, so 4 pieces I'm gonna sew with sashing, and then I will sandwich it with the batting in the back, and then I will free motion quilt that. And then we will quilt as you go, so meaning we free motion quilt this block, then we'll do another block of 4, which we actually have now, because this was my 8th finished block. We'll do the sashing in there, quilt that, and then we will do the quilt as you go sashing that actually connects to pieces. So that's what I'm pretty stoked about. So I'm trying to get to that point by finishing 8 blocks. So I think we have it now, and that means maybe tomorrow we can cut some sashing and start getting some blocks together. That'd be kind of awesome. All right, let's go and stitch this guy a little bit. So I think I have some thread hanging here. Let's see, how far are we on this guy? Yeah, I have some thread. I think we got 1/4. Yeah, we went from here to the next spot over there. So let's try and at least get that far again. I'm hoping we can maybe get further on that. Oh, I don't know if this is the same iron that was on the Home Shopping Network. It's the Panasonic. I have a link to it in my post here, but it is cordless, which makes it the most amazing thing that ever existed. It doesn't have a base to sit, like you can't set it up like this. It's called a 360 one, but it has points on either end, so you can actually press either way, and then it has a base that's plugged in that it can sit in. But during the duration of your pressing, you know, I just set it back in the bin in the base when I'm not using it. But you know, for pressing a quilt and big pieces, it is so amazing to have no cord. It's the best. All right, I got Zeb, my little fish museum and circus fellow here. And let's see, here's my little straw needle, my favorite needle. It's all completely bent, but this is a size 11 straw or Milner's needle. Oh, you think the Home Shopping Network carries the ceramic base? Yeah, so mine has just the metal base. But yeah, they do make a ceramic version of this. And I don't know, does the ceramic just distributes heat a little bit better maybe? I don't know. This seems to work fine, but yeah, I know there's ceramic is a thing with irons. I guess I don't quite know what that's all about. But yeah, so they do make a ceramic version of this. I'm just gonna snip the end of this because it's a little fuzzy. Let's get a nice clean point. I'll make it easier to thread. Same method though, I'm still doing that pinch method and unpinching, and the moment I see the little bit of thread, I'm gonna put the eye of the needle over it and pull it through. Okay. So we were doing the method of English paper piecing where we leave the little cardboard pieces, leave the templates in here, and then what I'm going to do is after the whole thing is stitched, I'm going to cut away the white fabric here. I'm going to cut away, I'm just going to like poke a hole in, and then cut away with a seam allowance so I can reveal the back of these pieces, and then I will pop out all of the template pieces, but we're not quite there yet. Oh, it's craft day on the Home Shopping Network. Oh, that's funny. That's pretty cool. That's neat that they have a craft day. Alrighty. All our little stitches. So as we go, we're going to be tucking in all these little dog ears. It is a little bit more difficult to stitch, to do this needle turn style stitching with these pieces in here, but I'm trying to give it a try. I haven't done it the technique where you keep the actual pieces in there. I think if I hold it this way, it'll be easier. Yeah. Okay, so I'm in the piece right here. I'm gonna just go right across, right next to the piece, but only in the back of the fabric. And then I'm gonna come up through the back and through the piece, just a few stitches. So I got both of them there. You took the templates out? Oh, as you sewed. Oh, you haven't cut out the back before. Yeah, I think we did one little applique thing in the Splendid Sampler, the first Splendid Sampler, where I cut out the back before, but I haven't. It wasn't English paper piecing, so it didn't have all these pieces in. All it did was kind of make the amount of fabric less, because it was less layers of fabric. So yeah, so this is a little weird. I mean, it's a little awkward. It's nicer needle turn appliquing when you have flexibility, where you can just hold the fabric like this, versus having it all kind of solid here, but I think it's fine. All right, so I'm going to tuck in this little guy here. The reason I tried this method of leaving the pieces in is because we had these curves that were kind of unique to this English paper piecing. So we had to glue these curves all nicely and down, and I thought maybe I'd lose the prettiness of those curves if I took the papers out first. So that's why I kind of decided to go with this technique, and because I haven't done it before, which I always like trying new things. New to me things. It's not new, it's new to me. Oh, it's September. September is National Sewing Month. Oh, that's awesome. I did not know that. All those things miss me. Facebook always has to tell me those things. All right, so this is definitely how I'm bending my needle. Just pushing it up through the next piece. See, that's my thumb hold, and I'm holding the needle funny. I think that is just because I have these solid pieces. The template pieces, I don't think I'd have quite a big of a bending issue if it was just the fabric, but I do like that everything is kind of staying in its place. Helen Stubbins uses something very thin in her English. Oh, she doesn't take out her templates at all. Well, you know what? In a lot of vintage quilts, if you ever are at a show and you, there's always, not always, but you know, there might be someone selling vintage quilt tops. Sometimes if you look at those, you can see all the little like newspaper pieces in the back, which is so cool. It's like such a history, right? Having like turning over a quilt top and seeing all of these pieces cut out in you know, like a newspaper, and then stitch around. I think these solid pieces are nice because you can really get these edges good. Oh, how did I like the end of making it? Well, I don't want to give anything away if anyone has not seen Making It yet. It's on NBC. We actually, NBC doesn't come in anymore on our TV, but we have Apple TV, so we downloaded the NBC app, and they're all on there for free still, which is nice. But I enjoyed the whole show. I definitely think it felt like a first season. Like it felt like the flow and everything will get a little bit better. I think they're definitely modeling it to some extent after the Great British Baking Show, which is like my favoriteest show. It's so relaxing and chill and lovely and charming and satisfying. I love that about the Great British Baking Show, and I do think that they were giving a good attempt at that, you know, because in America it's all pretty aggressive competition shows. You know, it's always stressful. All the I don't know, it's just how they edit it or the music or everything. It's just stressful, right? The Great British Baking Show, it's still the same thing. Like, it's all these contestants, you know, doing these stressful things in a short amount of time, but for some reason, the stress isn't on you, the viewer. Whatever they do for it, it's just sweet and charming, and you're rooting for everyone, and it's just amazing what they do. And I think that is what they're trying to do, making it, which I think they gave a good go at that, and I think they accomplished that. They, you know, everyone is friendly. It wasn't, you know, everyone supported each other, even with it still being a competition. They still did cool stuff, and they still got to be creative, and we got to see them just have fun making stuff. And I think and they even mentioned that. I mean, isn't it nice that people can, you know, just make stuff and get satisfaction out of that? I just think that's cool. So they're doing another season of it, though, I hear. So that's pretty exciting. Oh, yeah, you can watch all of the Great British Baking Show on Netflix. And I have seen every episode. We just finished the latest season, which I think just came out on Netflix. And there's two new hosts, and one of the judges is different. But you know what? It did not lose any of the charm or feel of it. I liked it just as much as I liked all the other seasons. So if you kind of felt like making it had a weird vibe, or, you know, it just was slow, or you didn't quite understand it, I would give a look at the Great British Baking Show. And I think they are kind of going with that route. And also, if you haven't seen Parks and Recreation, which is also on Netflix right now, all of the seasons of it, I think there's like 8 seasons or something. That's where Amy Poehler and Nick Offerman, you know, super shine on that show. And that's, you know, they make references to that show on Making It quite a bit, and they just have like a charm together. And I think if you haven't watched Parks and Rec, I'm not sure you'd appreciate it as much. They might just seem a little weird and goofy, but if you are a fan of Parks and Rec, then, you know, the two of them on Making It are just like the best. So if you were on the fence with Making It, I would suggest those two things. Watch Great British Baking Show and watch Parks and Rec. But, you know, if you're watching Parks and Rec and actually the Great British Baking Show, you're getting into seasons and seasons and seasons of TV watching. Oh yeah, Linda, I think it's only on Netflix. I think they released it on Netflix. I don't think it was on PBS or wherever else it was showing the Great British Baking Show. It's funny, now we call the Great British Baking Show, we call it Baking It. Like making it. That's easier to say than the Great British Baking Show. Oh, Jamie Oliver's show is super good too, Gretchen. I think I've probably seen clips of that, but I don't think I've seen a whole, like an episode of that. All right, we're almost to the point on this guy, and we're gonna run out of thread soonish. I'd like to maybe get to here with the thread. It's easier to start and stop thread on a straightaway, I think. All right, let's get this point here. Point's kind of weird here. We're gonna have to kind of make a point, I think. Oh, it was originally on PBS here in Seattle. Yeah, so that's how it was here too. But I think this last season was not released on PBS and it was only on Netflix. But I'm not positive about that. But I think they were going through some changes, the Great British Baking Show, and I think that was one of them. Ooh, my little pin's coming out here. We won't need him for long, but you know what? Let's just get rid of him. One of my little applique pins. Yeah, I think they tried to do like the Great American Baking Show. I never saw an episode of that, but they didn't do it again, so I'm not sure it had the same vibe as. Well, I'm pretty positive it couldn't have had the same vibe as the Great British Baking Show because there's just something unique about that. Part of the charm is just, hearing the names of what they're cooking, and everything that they cook is some just absurd thing that you've never heard of before. At least in America, you don't know anything that they're making on the Great British Baking Show. So it's like, what the heck? And it seems like everyone knows what these things are, and they're all just like versed in making these crazy baking things that apparently we're supposed to know what they are. It's just fascinating. And then they're just all so cute and sweet. I just love every episode of it. The American one wasn't good. I think you think there were 2 seasons? Yeah, I don't get normal TV, so that's probably why I didn't catch any of them, but you knew that wasn't going to work just because it wasn't the cute, British people doing their fun British bakes. What would they be making? The things that are charming about the Great British Baking Show, I don't think they can recreate that with American food or Americans. So, I don't know. I think making it, even though it's not baking, they did a pretty good job at trying to recreate that vibe a little bit. Yeah, like treacle pie. Never figured out what that was. Or what did they make in this last season that I thought was genius? It was like I don't know any talents, but it was like what was it called? It was like a not like a bat, but oh gosh, I know I'm gonna get this wrong, but it was like the North Ham, or like, I don't know, somewhere Shire banger or something. No, it wasn't banger. It was like the clanger. A clanger, I think that's what it was called. It was a clanger, but it was genius, I thought. So it was basically, okay, so I'm going to describe this thing to you. It's this clanger. It had a town's name, something Shire, and then a clanger, and it was in this episode where they were making forgotten bakes, so things that got lost in time, basically, these bakes that got lost in time, and this was one. And it was basically a pastry that was made for farmers to just go grab lunch, and then they could bring the whole lunch with them out to the field or eat it. So imagine a half of a baguette, like this big, right? Or maybe even a bigger, but like the shape of a baguette, but it was pastry. It was like a flaky pastry. It wasn't like bread. It wasn't like a baguette bread. But imagine a baguette, but made out of pastry. And on the inside of that baguette, a portion of it was some hearty meat savory filling. And then the other side of this baguette, on the inside, so you can't see it, was some sweet. So that would be like the dessert side. So, and then it had a little, pastry divider on the inside so that it wouldn't meld. So, but on the outside, it just looks like this baguette, right? This is the clanger. So think of it though, that is amazing. So a farmer, whoever is making it, the wife, is making this clanger, and then they can just go inside, grab this full inclusive baguette, have a full giant meal, and it's sturdy enough to, hold with one hand and start eating it. You have the whole giant meal on one side, and then you have like dessert all built into one, and you're just walking one-handed, eating this thing. By the time you get back to the field, you've eaten lunch and dessert, and it's amazing. Oh my God, it was genius, I thought. This clanger. So that's on my mind still. Every once in a while, I'll think of this clanger. It would be a fun thing to try. I'm sure I wouldn't be able to make it. I don't know how to do any of that stuff, any baking, anything related to baking where you're measuring flour and all this other stuff. But that was genius. For some reason, that stuck with me as like, dang, that is some smart thinking for them farmers to just grab this pastry baguette filled with lunch and dessert. Pretty genius. So they had the contestants had to, you know, come up with yummy versions of that. But one guy put like baklava on one side of it, and I was like, dang, that'd be a tasty finish to whatever meat thing. Yes, yummy, fun, and hearty. Yeah, exactly. So you want to get all that energy to those farmers, but you don't want them to like be dropping stuff everywhere. Like, you know, it's not like a burrito where it would just fall out everywhere. It was just, genius. Loved it. And then they're making these crazy cakes that are insane. Like, it's just to, I mean, you hear anything that they're gonna make, and you're like, what the heck is that gonna be? And it's always something incredibly amazing that no real person should be able to make. It's just so funny. All right. So that's my big show recommendation. If you haven't seen that, it's on Netflix. Great British baking show. If you need something that is so chill and anti-anxiety and just, you know, if you're feeling anxious or something and you just need to mellow out, you don't need anything with, you know, high energy or like what's going to happen next or just drama, then, you know, this is the show for you. That's how I feel. The Bedfordshire clanger, there you go. I knew it started with a B and I knew Shire was in there. That's it, Jeannie. The Bedfordshire clanger. Oh man, I'm going to look up that one day. One of these Sundays, I am just going to be like, okay, it's Bedfordshire clanger, and I'm going to learn how to make it. That would be something to like get really good at, right? This meal, it's like a Hot Pocket, basically. Right? I think that's basically what they're making. The Bedfordshire clanger. Oh, now you need a hot cup of tea and something sweet. I know. I don't know how anyone can eat all this stuff. Like, so these contestants are like practicing at home to make these things. Who's eating all these cakes? Oh, you like Jack Ryan on Prime? The bummer about Prime is that it is not, they don't like playing nice with the Apple TV. So the only time I can watch Prime is when I'm on my computer, and I don't, whatever I'm working on has to make sense for TV, and I haven't been doing that a lot lately. So Prime's a little bit more difficult, but I've heard that's good too. Okay, let's keep going. Just kind of tied off a new piece of thread. I think we can, let's get to where we left off last time. So I think we're just going to go around this edge and then end right where we stopped the first time. So it seems it takes about, seems to take about a half hour to go from one, to do a quarter. So, you know, from this start point to the same spot over here, that took about a half hour, and that must have taken about a half hour, our first one. So we'll be halfway done with stitching this down. But luckily, we can start this quilt as you go stuff, like getting that sashing prepped and coming up with our ideas a little bit more. We can get going on that a little bit more already, because I do have the I do have 8 blocks ready. But I'm just thinking, so you guys, I'm going to be out. Tomorrow's my last day here for a little while again. And then I'm going to be gone for, I'm going to be visiting my husband's parents, my in-laws. So I'm going to be gone for a little while again. This is August and September where I'm gone for a little times, and I'll be back here pretty consistently in October again, through the end of the year. So sorry, I've been in and out a lot lately, but I think, you know what, I'm kind of thinking maybe I'll just continue this tomorrow, because I think we can finish this up tomorrow. I think we'll be able to stitch around these other edges and then take out the papers and just finish this guy up. That might be better than us trying to cut sashing and get all that figured out. I think maybe let's start that fresh when I get back. So I get back in so tomorrow will be our last day, and then I'll be back on Wednesday of the next week. Oh, you just won the first place with angel food. Nice. Angel food cake. I can't see the rest of the comments, so I'm guessing it's angel food cake, but dang, that's one of my favorites. Yum. Get some angel food cake with some fresh strawberries on that. Now you're talking. Yum. Yep, one of my favorites for sure. And actually, from the Great British Baking Show, I can think, oh, angel food cake, that probably is mostly, that's one of those ones that's mostly eggs, and it doesn't have anything to make it rise except for the poofiness of the eggs, right? That seems like one of those things. See, I think I learned a little bit on the Great British Baking Show. They do have that season of them kind of showing you how to do stuff a little bit too. And that's fun to watch too. Oh yes, the angel food candy, dang. That's some dangerous stuff though. Yeah, I don't know how people can just always make that and have that stuff sitting around. I feel like I'm becoming like more and more sugar intolerant a little bit, so oh, that makes me sadder and sadder. I want all those yummy sugary foods. Ooh, a shoe fly pie and the whoopie pie at the farm show. Oh, funny. That's awesome, Bonnie. That's the best part of the fair, looking at all the pies in a row and all the like jams and all the cakes in a row. I love that. All right, so I think this will be my last stitch for the night. I like starting and stopping on these little straightaways versus, you know, these more difficult places like the curve. It lets us kind of warm up into it a little bit. So I think I'm going to just let this sit right here tonight, and we will continue stitching. Hopefully we can stitch the whole rest of this tomorrow. That'd be pretty awesome. And then we'll even try, and I would love to finish this tomorrow, basically. I'd like to cut out the back and take out these pieces just so I can show you guys that, because we haven't done that with this yet at all. So yeah, it'd be cool to get an extra bonus one done this week. And then when we get back when I get back on Wednesday of next week, we'll get to the free motion quilting and piecing this together and getting my sashing and the backing and all that together. So, all right, guys, I'm going to flip you around and we will call it an evening here. Hello. So I got new like blue blocker glasses. So they got these cute little pink ones. So this is to block the light and block the computer, and it's, you know, you probably heard about, you know, those the blue blocking lights. I got some in the mail today. I'm super excited about them. I have those really granny ones, but now I have these cute pink ones too. So, all right, let's see what we did. We got our little birdie completely done. I love the little flowers. But yeah, little eye, it's subtle. I think from far away, the eye kind of blends in a little bit, but it's just enough there, I think. I think it's cute. Love him. And then we got, let me get the needle in here. Then we are getting further on him to, you can see it's kind of bunching. I think this will all kind of go away once we take the template pieces out and we give it a good press. I think that's just from the template pieces being, you know, so kind of like stretching the fabric and stuff. I think it'll all relax a little bit with that. So, all right, we'll continue that and hopefully finish that block 7 tomorrow. And then that'll be our last day for a little while again, but hopefully I'll be on Facebook a little bit while I'm gone. But awesome, guys. I will get this up on YouTube at Penguin and Fish Movies, and then I'll be back here tomorrow again at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. So thank you, guys. Have a fabulous evening. Go watch the Great British Baking Show. and then Parks and Recreation, and then making it. All right, guys. See you later. Good night.